Well, okay, we can slowly start maybe. I'm gonna share the screen and do some introduction to this whole thing. And then Elena is gonna continue with some examples. So yeah, just to figure out how to do this. Okay. Luca? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, everyone can hear you.
Okay, okay, great. Because I'm like, okay.
Just the full screen, and yeah, we can see the screen as well. Cool.
Okay, people, thank you for joining us tonight. We are here to introduce you the reality introduction period. Yeah, EASA Reality 2021. So basically, this whole event originated from the international tutor meeting that most of you probably know, but that's some sort of almost a new event at EASA, and it started like 4 or 5 years ago, so to say. So the whole point of this event is somehow to bring the whole community a bit closer to the whole topic through some workshops, discussions, through some lectures, and somehow to connect all of us, sort of, and out of all of those stuff, maybe some ideas for potential workshops can emerge, or also like somehow that we can all together start shaping the future event, which will be in its form a bit different than previous events because of all this situation that we are all very well aware of. So basically we are Luka, Boban, Elena, Anna, Marina, Sheila, and Tamara. I am Marina, yeah. And Anna is, we want to introduce her as a new member of our team.
Hi, Anna.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna.
So, and underneath, you can also see some of our current collaborators, some of them from Kragujevac and some of them from Belgrade and Serbia in general. So first, I'm just going to say a few things in what steps did we somehow introduce for this whole, like bringing this topic closer and somehow starting the whole discussion on this topic. Like first thing that we did was somehow trying to reactivate this whole reality brainstorming group on Facebook. This is the group that we overtook from EASA Croatia, EASA event, and they made it in 2018. This was the first brainstorm group made for the international tutor meeting in 2018. So basically, we somehow had the goal of recycling this material, like of our community, and we wanted like to somehow suggest that maybe it would be the best if we always like have some a common group where we can like talk and discuss about future years also, not just about this year. And somehow we adapted it to the topic of reality, like you know, like we typed some stuff there, we introduced some topics and so on. And we basically want to encourage every one of you somehow to try to further engage here. So like to, I don't know, just start some random discussions, suggest some topics, and so on. And basically the second step is this event happening, starting today, yeah. A reality weekend. And the main like structure of this event, very simple, workshops, discussions, and bar. And I don't know, I mean, it's like, you know, like we also want do some online workshops to introduce some discussions, some lectures, and also to have some bar nights with some whatsoever conversations. So I'm going to talk a bit about the program of the event. Basically, today it's supposed to be a very chilled day. I mean, every day is supposed to be a chill day, but today we're just gonna be like, hello world, and just to introduce like what are we gonna be doing for those 3 days, and maybe to give some short introduction about the topic of reality. That comes a bit later. And after that, we can all like just, you know, sip a drink or a glass of water or whatever, and listen to some music, meet with each other, like see who wants to take part also tomorrow, after tomorrow, and just try to connect in this virtual world, basically. But for the 2 other days, what we thought it's good somehow to share the program into a day session and evening session, and okay, bar. But like, so some people who, you know, maybe not all of you will have time both halves of day. So we decided to make a bit longer break between those 2 halves of day. Like in the first part of day, we will commit somehow to workshops. And then in the other half of day, we will introduce some lectures, some open mic sessions, and so on. Like for the workshops, we somehow thought, you know, according to this whole topic of reality, somehow today and tomorrow, the biggest accent is going to be somehow on trying to tangle like the realities that we will want to in the future engage with, like to make some you know, like general ideas, like from the whole community, like, because, yeah, we will see a bit later. Yeah, sorry. Basically, just a moment. So yes, so like workshops, first day, we investigate the topic. We are setting like the hotspots, like, okay, this reality, that reality, what realities do we actually want to tangle? On the second day, we will deal a bit more with direct actions, like how do we want to act in the second halves of the day. They will always introduce some of their own projects, but also referring to the topic of reality. We invited some very interesting people, some of them originating from EASA, so to say. You can see here, like, from EASA to reality 25 years after. So we somehow tried to also activate some old ASEANs, but also we have some younger ones and some, I don't know, maybe surprises, but let's see. Bar and more, I don't have to elaborate on that, basically. So now I want to somehow talk a bit about the whole 3 scenarios, like of happening of the EASA event. Because I think that, I mean, we had this whole presentation at the INCM, like about a month or 2 months ago, I can't really remember now, where we talked about this whole situation. Basically, okay, we know pandemic is happening, the assembly as it was before, like in this amount of 500 people in one location, it seems very impossible. And this made us quite insecure at some point. And we were like, for a longer time, we didn't know, like, just like, okay, what is it going to be? Like, how many people can we invite? How to gather sponsors if we don't know even how many people we're going to host, if we are going to host anyone. And then we just decided that it's the best point to make a decision, decided to make a decision, exactly. So somehow we made this cut, and we were like, okay, we're going to have event that is going to have sort of 3 scenarios. First of those scenarios is directly related to initially proposed topic, like and location, as an event that will take place in Kragujevac and that will host up to 150 participants. This number, 150, is definitely due to change, and it will reflect the regulations and restrictions that will take, that will be at that point in time. So we cannot really predict that, no one can predict that. So this event in Kragujevac can take place for, I don't know, 50, 100, 150, maybe even 200 people. Let's see how the situation will develop. The location stays the same, Arsenal, and we are like in the last few weeks, we engaged a lot with creating sponsorship pack. Like it was very important for us to decide on some numbers so we can approach to sponsors and to collaborators and to authorities, and also to community itself. So we can somehow go like a step forward. Then the second scenario is quite a familiar one. I mean, all of them are very familiar, so to say, but this like second scenario would be local national gatherings across Europe in a residency format. This is something, yeah, that EASA Estonia initiated last year, and it was quite successfully done in the end, where every country introduced a local gathering, basically. So what's the thing? It's like we somehow, even if we are gonna create this event in Kragujevac of a smaller scale, we really want to somehow contribute into, let's say, somehow moderating in a way, like together with all national teams, but moderating also national assemblies according to the topic. So what this means, it's like we have some ideas about the ways, like how we want to do that, and how we plan to develop this whole strategy about it. But about that, we can talk more tomorrow and after tomorrow. But basically, we really like one of our goals is somehow to encourage all of those local gatherings, especially because this is initiating reality laboratories all over the, you know, like, okay, let's say Europe for now. But for some of you who were at the INCM in Macedonia, like this is very familiar. For some of them who are not familiar with this, basically a reality lab, physical space, incubator of ideas and projects that share EASA principles and EASA spirit. Reaction derived from realization that EASA, by its current defined model, can provide solutions and methods, but only to a certain extent. So basically, those real labs somehow, you know, like this whole thing, like with the pandemic, made it almost compulsory for us, for all of us, to actually create real labs in a way. Like this whole residency program that is going to happen in every country can also be understood in a way as a reality laboratory, sort of. So it's like, you know, we somehow propose it as a kind of an experiment, as something quite bold at that time, like trying to encourage, you know, like just all of those initiatives coming out from EASA, just like to act more and locally and to connect more and just to, you know, to spread EASA out of those 14 days, you know, basically. So this pandemic made it somehow possible. Even sooner than we thought for it to happen. So just want to say that, yeah, it's working out for us. And this is just, what?
Sorry for interrupting. I wanted just to add a little bit. The part where you said about moderating is to kind of have this thing that, let's say, connects all these national gatherings to kind of make a stronger point to them, like this bigger concept on it, so that they are not just individual, regional, or local gatherings, just like, but rather a connected whole. Yeah, just to add, sorry for interrupting.
Exactly, exactly. Not that we are going to be like physical, it's not going to be physical possible to literally to moderate stuff, nor that's the goal, but more of what Lucas said, like somehow to introduce some concept that will somehow give some unification and some
yeah, exactly.
but more about that on some other days. And I also wanted to say, if anyone wants to say, add something, or just be like, hey, just interrupt, and I don't have any problem with that. Especially my team, if I forget something,
Hey.
please. So this is just some sweet throwback to this event of EASA Apathy residents in Serbia. Unfortunately, I couldn't take part at it, but
Do we have any participants from this event here? You can like share stuff if you want to. Okay, Elena is her hand, of course, in there.
But do we have? I'm not sure.
Anyone? Well, maybe some of you can say something, because I don't know, like you were there.
Well, I think it was very successful. I mean, we talked about it a lot in the months, and especially with the, I think we abused these pictures with this workshop with balloons. But I think, yeah, it was really successful. During the meeting, during INCM talks, I can't remember who, but someone actually said that even though last year's EASA wasn't so fulfilling for all participants, it was it had a greater reach than before because of these local events. So I think they, regardless of what is the future of this year's EASA and the future and the upcoming ones, it's quite crucial to have a local community and to have something that is happening outside this digital world. So yeah, I think this event in Čartanoci was a quite successful one, and it proves the importance of these local gatherings.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So basically, this is the this second scenario that already happened that we want to reintroduce and encourage even more in like this year. Next thing, like the third scenario is the online one, EASA Siteless. I mean, basically, whatever happens, like if we have like so many local gatherings, we would really like to somehow have an online platform. Is it website? We're still there some, I don't know, some all of this, who know it already by heart. So basically, we came across this topic when we noticed, okay, some stuff are very odd around us, and maybe we should take some time to think, reflect on them, investigate them. Okay, what's real? What's happening in general? And we noticed, as here is written, like some series of paradoxes, contradictions in our education, and then later on in our practice, architectural practice. So basically, somehow this attempt, because reality is a huge, massive word, it's like means it can mean many things, and it is basically everything that there is. So in this whole attempt, we somehow try to distinguish two terms: the real and reality. And basically, we can say the reality is some, every one of us has their own and backgrounds and visions and aspirations, and it's basically a matter of aspect, facts, conceptions, how every one of us perceives things, acts about them, and so on. It's not some kind of natural and common way of how things are, because there are so many of them. It's not like a singular thing. And basically, we can say it's a form of ideology in a way. And then on the other side, we have this, the real, that we saw as something which is an ultimate truth, which doesn't actually even exist. It's some, here is written unpresentable X, like like void that we can only maybe spot, like a glitch in some fractures of parent realities. So, like we can say, like realities are many and various, yeah, and the real, is almost,
absolute one.
You get absolute one. Exactly, you get the point. So for us, starting point, I mean, a strong example for this was when this unfortunate event happened in Belgrade, in city center, when the government paved the whole square in granite cubes. But what have happened, the cubes started to break under the pressure of the car, and then people realized, okay, those are not granite cubes, those are actually concrete cubes, and on the top of those cubes with the silicon is just glued one very small layer of granite. So it's basically a political fraud that have happened, and someone wanted to steal some money to do some not nice
The
stuff.
usual stuff.
Usual stuff for Serbia, yeah. But this was, and bizarre and absurd, and you were like, oh my God, this even, you cannot even make a floor without it to break under your, feet. So for us, it's like if we put aside this whole political and this whole thing, yeah. It was just amazing, this whole, like you have some cube, and then you have this whole layer which is in between. It's something you see, and you see something which is not, basically, and then there is something which you cannot really see, and there is this whole layer of silicon, and we call this some liminal space. That was very interesting for us, that we want to investigate, sort of. But this liminal space is not like some also physical space. It's like how it's it could be more defined by some actions, like how we will see later. I mean, every reality is somehow described only through some sort of relations, like how you relate and act, and that could be the only definition of it. So basically what we want to ask, and during this whole 3-day meeting, we just want somehow to motivate people to tell each other, just brainstorm about what layers would you identify, or basically what is your reality that you want to tangle, like what would be this cube in your case, sort of. Because there are so many cubes, and there are so many things, and we just as a community have somehow to make some to see what's important for us, like what's something that what makes us angry or happy, or what we want to engage with, basically. So this is also something that we wanted to go a bit step further towards this whole classification of things. But the thing is that this whole definition of reality it's like the reality is actually defined by those innumerable relations towards it. So the question is, you know, it's like the constitution of reality is like, it's like, if the question is, are you like creating some reality, like how you are acting towards it? Are you ignoring it? Are you being part of it? Are you manipulating it, abusing it, observing it, and so on? So those are some, you know, like things that we want somehow to think through with all of you, and try to make some, you know, like hotspots of the topics and of the future actions. And Eleni also prepared, I mean, and everyone else, yeah, some short, let's say, like row of examples that were
conversation starters, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, like somehow, yeah, conversation starters, just like to see some things that we thought they are interesting, actual, yeah, actual, and that could be a good starting point for all of us. Maybe just, you know, just to open discussion. And you know, it's like we also didn't want like to take any like strong stand about you know, oh, this is good, this is bad, this is something, yeah. So basically just to somehow observe some stuff which are happening, and maybe to see like where that will lead us in a way of like future workshop making, event making, because this year is a bit challenging, because I mean, we all know it. It's like, I'm just stating very obvious, that we have to somehow reformat the whole event, and we have to try a bit harder, because the situation is not as easy as before. So we really are looking so much forward to every one of you just giving us any input, trying to, you know, like, because in the end, every one of you will have, no one has to do anything, but we'll hopefully create some local gathering, and this will be the topic of the event. So the question is, what will be also those local gatherings? What will be workshops this year? How will everything work? So those are some reality challenges that that are going to consider all of us. And yeah, we are all very positively stated towards it. And yeah, we're just gonna give our best. And yeah, I don't know. So Eleni, can you please just tell some interesting things? And yeah, and also thanks to everyone for being here. And yeah, if you have some questions about what was what I all said, you can just go now, or you can also just ask later, or if you just want to say something, whatever, just.
Yeah, you can just unmute and say, feel free.
What? So I'm gonna stop this sharing.
Okay. This was it's really weird to kind of sum up all the discussions, and that was our evening today, like to sum up all the discussions that we had from 2018 when we started thinking about bidding and the theme of reality till today, but that was an impossible mission. But I guess it's just like something that will just start the fire, maybe, or something that will make you think about if your local context, or if you want to propose like a workshop or another action. Okay, I will try to share. Let's start with SpongeBob.
Yay!
Yep. Can you hear? Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Your mind. Empty my mind. Empty your doesn't have to do with fine dining. Fine dining. Just got an order from the boss. Dump everything that isn't about fine dining. Everything? Everything. Let's get moving. Hurry up. What do you think I'm paying you for? You don't pay me. You don't even exist. We're just a clever visual metaphor used to personify the abstract concept of thought. One more crack like that and you're out of here. No, please. I have 3 kids. How do you feel? SpongeBob?
This is us now. Like, how do you feel? But anyway, yeah. So wait. Oh, no. So wait. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
How to hide this?
Just you have this. What do you want to hide?
Hide flow. Okay.
The little hand, you can just move it to the side.
A random references. Okay, a collection of random references. Okay, I would like to start the evening with a completely maybe not architectural point of view, but maybe connected to it. Next slide. Okay, it's not working. Okay. So I read a book recently, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, and it really inspired me to think about the reality and our world as it is today. And this book actually speaks about the myth, about how do we construct myths, and how do we, using our mind and using fiction, being able to imagine things and eventually dominate the planet. But how do we think in an abstract way when we look at objects and we imagine something else rather than what they are or what they can be? Not only to imagine things in an abstract way, but to do this collectively. And I mean, these myths today are basically social constructs, or our imagined realities. And we've been generally have an incredible complex network of stories that we have told of people how to behave and act and to coordinate us, and how do we dominate this planet. This, of course, an imagined reality is not primarily a lie. I lie when I say that it's raining in Belgrade, but it is not raining. So unlike lying, an imagined reality is something that everyone believes in it. And as long as this communal belief persists, the imagined reality can have an impact on the world. So I guess on the one side, we are living this dual reality. We have this objective reality of like trees and rivers and ponds and honey badgers and lions. And on the other side, we have an imagined reality of gods, nations, corporations. But we came to the fact that the second reality is actually more important. It has been more powerful and has an impact on the first reality. Harari, in his book, make also reference to the biological, let's say, sex. And this is a nice example I would like to also show. So biologically, humans are divided into male. A male has an X chromosome, and a female has an X and a Y chromosome. A female has double X's. But women and men are actually social, not biological categories. So a woman is not a sapiens with 2 X chromosomes, with a womb, with ovaries, with estrogen, and like can produce milk. But it's another feature. It's part of another. It's of an imagined human order. It's put itself into a different context, and this is changed during the time. So the biological category most of the times remains the same. But the cultural categories can change a lot. So this is another thing, like how the language can maybe, and the codes we use can affect how we see the thing. A word is not the object, but it's a reality of this object. And one other reference I would put from that book, it is about the representations of the maps during the time. So for years, different worlds, different cultures of humans have been scattered around the globe, living within their own bubble, let's say, an isolated world. The Afro-Asian people, the Afro-Asian culture didn't know about the American culture, or vice versa. We didn't know about the Australian culture as Europeans, whatever. So when these small expeditions started, like even if we didn't know part of the world, we were imagining them, and we were like putting our fiction, like even if we didn't know, it looks like we knew everything. It looks like we were aware of the situation, like the familiarity with the entire world, even though most of these places were not explored yet, but there was already some monsters or some story about it. And then after, when the expeditions, the big expeditions to America, Australia and everything started, the perception of the world changed completely. First, it was the admission that we don't know, so we don't know what is out there, and we are ready to go and find out, like the imperial drive. We are ready to go and explore and conquer if it needs other parts of the world. So the maps, the visual representation of the world was really like a lot of empty space, and it doesn't give any answer. It doesn't say like which creature lives in the other side of America, but it invites you to go and find out. And I guess it set the whole mindset, like, of that time, the ideological mindset of that time. So yeah, but we do that as well. Like we kind of make this ideal city. Like now, okay, this was The Ideal City by Fra Carnavale. It was like when the whole perspective thing was discovered, or we started used it, and that help us see at space and see its representation. And it all shines, it's all shiny, and it's like a perfect, let's say, snapshot of an architectural experience, like our renders are. And it depicted like the ideal let's say,
like an ideal illusion, maybe,
and the ideal reality. Ideal bubble, and everything functions, even though most of these things are not resolved till the end. It's just represent, and we do that. We do, and we're kind of forced to do that. But yeah, when you enter to the city scale, some of these things are completely different. The scales are different. There are not just objects, there are also people, there are interactions, there are infrastructure, signs, construction size, and I don't know.
Elena, could you tell us what's on the picture? What is this?
Yeah, if you didn't know, Marina, this is, it's square. It's a square in Belgrade, another square. we like squares. It's Sava Square, which is actually constructed, like recently it was constructed a monument there, a big one, which was, I guess, 3 times as this nut that you see in the front of the picture.
Like on just to say, like on the top of the nut comes one
picture, yeah.
Really, one person, like he has like additional to this, he has like, I don't know, extra 5-10 meters. I really
yeah. So the statue is basically a lot taller than the building in front of it, which is a building that has a ton of history. It was the old railway station, but now they are turning it into a museum and moving the train station to a very illogical place. But that's another story. You can continue, Ellen.
Yeah, yeah. This is also actually gold now. Yeah, you can Google it, Savski Trg, if you want, or Sveti Nemanji.
Yeah, I'll send a link to the chat.
Yeah, but
recently there has been an opening.
Socially distant
of this monument, socially distant monument that looked like a concert. You wouldn't believe that it happened in these Corona times, but it did.
Systems and not trying to cover apparent reality, like.
Well,
that's
yeah,
also
I guess
interesting, like some hybrid.
Yeah, I guess that this is also a hybrid. I mean, all of this, let's say this example, for example, it's really, I guess, till one point the useful thing, like you can test really some mechanisms and some, like, I don't know, the consequences of driving cars in the city and whatever, but at some point it loses its sense and it becomes something else. This is, for example, a printed facade. It's just like camouflaged the building itself into something else, like whatever wall curtain and the reflection of the sky. But and it looks like it's much better. Like, I don't even know if there is a building underneath it, but I think that there is a ruined facade. It's covered by this print. But then it goes to another level of, let's say, more surreal things, which cities are built just to be turned apart, demolished, to be demolished after a few months. Like, this is one of the reality TV set that was built in Serbia, unfortunately, and it's by Željko Mitrovic, which is a city. It's built, it's there, and it exists, and people are living there, and they are filmed every day. And and it all comes to this, say, Disneyland, that we kind of observe all of these things, and we perceive, even us ourselves, we perceive buildings as a closed system, as a completely controlled environment. We ventilate our gem, especially now with the corona. It's just we just try to control and monitor every aspect of the building, and control the environment inside, control the nature, the temperature, or exit the building. Well, not that exit, but yeah, for example, airports are always set on 21 degrees. It doesn't matter where or in London, it's 21 degrees, and it's really interesting. How do we dominate this nature? And at the end, as a palm tree. Well, we kind of like hack nature, I guess, like, but can nature hack the technologies? Our domination is not valid. We cannot even more dominate nature.
Just a second. You mean how to let the nature to be dominant again, or
no? But because here we have phenomena that are, let's say, we cannot control. Like we kind of lost dominance over the nature forces, and I guess this is something that comes back to the really dual reality we have, and how can we balance these two? Like, can we live together, and can we live on this planet all together and harmonically, but at the same time respect the environment and everything, and everything that surrounding us. Yeah.
It's very interesting because Elena gave beautiful examples of historical development of this term Potemkin villages. Because I don't know about you, but I learned a lot about, I mean, not a lot, but I learned about them in my high school. And it's really interesting because like you have this perspective of analyzing these Potemkin villages, and you sort of laugh at them because they're so obvious. You can see the literal difference between what's real and what's a reality. It's in front of you. And especially in those images where Elena showed the facade from one side and from the other side, and you can see that from one side it's ruined, and from the other side it's completely, you know, furnished. But I think that the whole point of this, like a historical retrospective of this term Potemkin village, is to actually see that the border is kind of it's starting to begin, not starting, it's already non-existent, because like at one point these Potemkin villages were only considered to be like two-dimensional, very two-dimensional. So you have this like one perspective of facade, and that's all, and you have this one story in front and the completely other in the back. But then like this spatial term can be translated also to these weather conditions, which Elena elaborated on these airports. So it's a whole new world. It's a different perspective. It's not even two-dimensional. It's not even three-dimensional. It's not spatial. It connects to you know, completely different fields of senses. And yeah, I think we didn't think that the topic of reality would be this broad when we started to and this like actually this important when we started talking about it before bidding. But at the end, like during these Corona times, it's especially you know, a focal point, because it completely changes, shifts the nature of human behavior. We are all living in these Potemkin villages, in different cases, and we're not aware of it. So I think that, like, for instance, one practice for the next 2 days could be to actually acknowledge these, you know, different aspects of Potemkin villages in our lives. Peace.
Amen.
Yeah, we all wear masks and live in Potemkin villages and Disneylands and everything. Yeah, I guess is what we get when speaking. It's really a very, like, we are using really concrete codes to describe everything, and sometimes it's much easier to speak, but like maybe we overdone it. Maybe we should go back to the pre-state, what Lacan also said, like the state before language, where some other things were more important, so we can sense things, we can sense the world around us in a different way.
It's even now, like, we have these green backgrounds and nobody knows where we are. Like, everything can be behind us.
You can Photoshop us into your own homes. Take it. screenshots now. It's a unique opportunity.
Should I maybe play the video of reality? Elena, we talked before. Shall I?
Games?
Yeah, I didn't change. Like we were supposed to change it a bit, but it didn't change.
Yeah, we were supposed to cut it a bit and just show. But so this is one video that we showed on bidding at Macedonia. So I'm just gonna stream it for you. And here is also this imaginary town that this guy built for the purpose of reality show. And it's, yeah, it's just one, the creative shed basically, but it's very interesting what he has to say about it. So I just have to share the screen.
Četiri puta je Palata Milenija.
Okay, wait. We need another with subtitles. Wait.
Od Bele kuće. Ili recimo vrlo slična po dimenzijama Capitol Hill u Washingtonu. I pritom je to stvarna zgrada. Mislim, to je suština, pošto je ona rađena od čvrstih materijala i stvarna je zgrada. Dizali smo Cosima Medicija na sred ostrva. Cosimo je visok 6 metara, on je čak skoro duplo viši od Cosima u Firenci. Mislim da je sada nekako došlo vreme i za srpsku renesansu. Veliki broj umetnika, veliki broj vajara, slikara koji sam angažovao ovde, koji su zaradili dosta novca na ovom projektu. Jednim malim gestom da pomognemo kulturan život u Srbiji, da pomognemo sve radnike iz oblasti kulture. I mislim da smo uspeli, napravili smo jedan ambijent i napravili smo jednu Kneževinu, jedan zapravo mali grad u kome će živeti naši takmičari.
EASA Reality od mene. Kako je da lepo fontana, kao dizajn, kao slika, to je lepo, ali vidite ovo okolo, pogledajte lupa do lupe, kakvi su trotoari, kakvi su pešački prelazi neofarbani 10 godina, 2 miliona oprali su pare.
Moraš da gradiš atrakcije.
Nužno je strojiti privlačenje.
I sad ćemo da gradimo zato je gondol.
Radujemo se da dešavaju neke normalna stvar, ništa. Zavrnuće, popravit će, idemo da.
Yeah, so basically we didn't want to show the whole video, but we didn't have time to cut it. So, okay, I have. Yeah. So I don't know. Basically, that was the bidding video where we saw also some different situations from also everyday life and you know how everyday people and how some politically powerful people act inside their own realms, their own realities, which are affecting all of us very much. So yeah, I don't know. Luca, do you have something to say about the bar?
About?
No, it's like we can all like, I don't know, we can talk about a bit about stuff that we presented now. I don't know, we can just, I don't know how this bar thing works. And that's why I said, I think Luca is an expert. But, it's like, it would be great if, I don't know, if anyone has any comment, any thought, any example, like anything, what you want just to say, share, whatever. I know it's always a bit uncomfortable just to be like talking in front of so many people that maybe you don't know, but I don't know. We are all one big community, and yeah.
I can share something.
Yes.
I don't know, like a response, because when you look at, for instance, at least a lot of buildings in the Netherlands, like we're working towards more sustainable environment. And one of the things that I found really interesting is sort of this purist architect's idea of using pure materials, and this also refers maybe a bit towards the granite or the stones in the square. But nowadays you have these buildings that are not made of actual bricks, but they're just stuck on. But in that way, you could say like it's fake, it's not real, and therefore it's not pure or like real architecturally correct in a way. But on the other hand, if you use this, you are able to make more sustainable facades that are better insulated. So in this way, you can use this sort of stick-on method to do something good in a way. But then, yeah, it's not real, or it gives this illusion. But then again, it's also part of this social constructs that we have, that we like brick buildings because it reminds ourselves of that it's old or traditional or something like that. So it's interesting sort of to
Said that it's not real, but it's equally real as anything else. No?
Yeah. It's just
I don't know. I also what you said now. I noticed a bit this a bit opposite example where like, for example, there was this now competition in Vienna about creating this green village in the one district, and sort of like building many blocks, like for like kako se kaže, stambeni stanovi, kao za stanovanje.
Residential buildings.
Housing.
Lots of residential buildings, sorry. And you know, it's like the whole invitation to the competition was like, oh, let's build a green village. And in the end, it turned out to be that this green thing and this sustainability thing that they were like inviting people to do was reduced to, okay, let's build like 5 trees and let's put some plants on facades, but let's use the same amount of concrete. Let's, you know, it's like, it's very, very, you know, it's just
visual ecological standpoint.
Exactly, but it's a, you know, it's a huge lie, and like the practices are just like you know, just being about it like yeah, it's sustainable, but in the end it's not at all, and it's everything but sustainable. And just how people are using some of the appearances to mask actually, you know, some realities which they cannot really fight against. Because, you know, it's like, if you would really want to build a sustainable building, you have a very big problem because of some law regulations. You know, it's like, oh, I want to do everything out of wood, out of, I don't know, like earth, like rammed earth or stuff like that. And then you come across 1,000 regulations telling you that it's not possible, that it's forbidden, basically. And then we end with those stuff like, oh, make me a green village where the point of it is going to be plant 3 plants and make this a perfect microclimate in your area, but destroy the whole climate in the whole world, you know. And that's quite a big problem, like that the whole practice is dealing with. So I don't know, it's like it's our role, I guess, to tangle those stuff and to think them through.
Especially like Marina gave a good introduction for this like a micro topic, because like initially we started exploring this topic from the aspect of local issues. So we had this like we based on the local issues, we tried to find the not issues, but the everyday aspects. We try to differentiate what's reality, what's real, and what's that like silicone layer, what's the liminal layer that's connecting those. And it's very interesting because like what's real in this instance, what's really in some state, it's a reality in a different state. So like the term, even though like we define the term real as the absolute one, and the reality as something that's constantly copying and pasting, and it's like it's a never-ending number of those. It's interesting that some people's or some countries' problems are you know, some other country solutions, which also shift the meaning of what's real and what's a reality.
And if I can add, I think like it's really nice what you said, and I don't know how many of you are like keeping up with the chat, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna like butcher this pronouncing. Lawrence had like a very nice point in the comments. If you want to speak, like I don't want to like butcher your thought or anything, but basically like that. Sometimes like even when we were talking about the fake bricks, like sometimes even the like this fake reality has some kind of value, so it's not automatically like this position of real being the good and reality being the bad.
Yes.
And
yeah, thanks, Luca. I think that's about it. I don't think you butchered anything. Yeah, I think there's this we do need to interrogate these things, but I think it's too easy to assume that like real is like good and anything stuck on top of that is automatically bad. I think you need to question it so that you're aware of it, so that you aren't just reproducing the reality as if it's the real, sort of unknowingly. But I mean, if you're talking about signs and symbols and the reality being this sort of world of constructs, like constructs are important. Like our world is constituted by constructs. We can't sort of deny that. I think we can explore what is underneath the constructs, but that's not to say that like we shouldn't use constructs. And we
that's exactly the thing. And considering like what Doreen said later, she wrote, we need to vary of pursuit extremities, like most extremities. But I basically got this like
okay, you butchered that one though.
Okay, so go on, and I will add my thought on it.
No, purest extremities. But anyways, continue your point.
But the thing is like funny enough, like the brick, like with the 3 layers, is like something that happened in like 2019. Like it was kind of a way to structurize our thoughts and like the concept and like to position it. But throughout time, we realized that like it's not as square like that, you know, like this layer is not just like in all times or ever, like just this like straight line. It can be a gradient, you know, it's not as clear. And so even when like putting different examples on the cubes, like putting different layers and like deciding what can be a layer called reality and what can be a layer called real and what would be the liminal, like even there, like for one simple brick, like for one example, we had like arguments for half an hour or of like, is this really the reality or not? So I believe that we should kind of we should grow out from this example of a brick, even though it's like a very good starting example to understand the topic, but it's not as square. It is not as, these borders between are not as clear as like a simple line. So it's more like merging with each other, and that's the whole idea of like exploring this topic, like of figuring out what how these things connect on like examples. I'd say, I don't know, now I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Can I interject? Sorry.
Yeah.
Should we start up? Should we start up the 1, 2,
yes,
3, or
that's what I
something in the chat?
So I will try to moderate. I think we also have like an option in if you go to participants, I believe that there is an option to raise hands. Is there? No? There was today, but you can raise hands like this, and I will try to, or just write in your name, write your name in the chat, and write a question, response, new topic. Like if you want to something, and I'll try to moderate. So
can you
type
just
like
elaborate on that for people who don't know? Like if you wanna, you know.
Yeah. So either write like comment, question, like a new topic. And then write your name.
That you don't write the topic itself, but you just write the
name
topic.
And then like comment or where is this now? Okay, I'll just.
Are you writing the instructions?
Yeah, I'm writing the instruction, but I cannot dash line. I cannot find it.
I think the chat is the best option because we cannot see everyone at the all the time.
Yeah,
in this
because there is 77. So name, comma, comment, or new topic, and yeah.
How about C? Just for God. It's fine.
If you have, but yeah, okay. And this killed the.
Or just stop.
Okay. Any new topics or comments?
I think Dorian wanted to say something.
But Doreen, was this what you wanted to say? We have a question from Victor, like a really basic question. I'm new to this. Why is reality important per se? More than what? I have a personal interest in the why of reality.
Wait, but can a person not ask them by themselves a question? Like, can
they wrote it in the chat.
Okay. Okay. No, but you can also.
Yeah, but if you want to elaborate.
I mean, I can say. Wait, let me turn on my. I mean, I'm new to this. I'm from Spain. Wait, let me turn on the video. Okay. Sorry, I'm a bit dark. Anyway, yeah, I have like a personal interest in knowing why we have such a focus on what is real and what isn't real. In Spain, we have a very famous architect. His name is Andrés Jaque, and he studied a Spanish pavilion in Barcelona, and he studied the basement. And he saw that the real interest in the project was not the building itself, but the basement, what they were trying to hide. So my question is, why do we think reality is important and interesting per se? No, because you were saying that real is good, not necessarily. No, so why do we think that? Why do we tend to think that real is good?
Well,
I guess that it seemed like that we from putting like the two terms like in some kind of a relation. If you basically, I think that we as like humans tend to give attributes to things that are in some kind of relations. Especially like the easiest one, the easiest attribute to give is good or bad. Like this is the most simple attribute that we can understand. And so when we put like the terms real and reality in kind of in a relation, then automatically from like giving examples of what is reality and what is real, we kind of put these attributes like, well, one must be good and one must be bad. It's kind of like human logic to do it, but yeah.
I have to add, I don't really disagree with this. I basically, I don't agree. Okay. But basically, I think that we never really stated that the reality is good and the real is bad. And I think that maybe it might be because this example, initial example of the granite cubes that we gave, made an impression, because that situation by itself is a bad one. You know, it's like, it's not like the reality is good, the real is bad or opposite whatsoever. But it's just, it's a bad thing that someone did, you know, and we just somehow tried to make some structure of the cube, not of that situation, just to see, you know, this material is showing us some reality, you know, by itself, this granite on the top. And then there is another reality beneath it, which is actually the truth, you know, and it doesn't mean that it's a good thing, you know, but it's just somehow observing this position, this happening, you know, this reality. And I really believe that you know, it's not on us to be like, it's not on anyone to be like, oh, this is good, this is bad, but it's the whole thing. I really have to agree with Lawrence. It's about, you know, observing, about investigating things, and about you know, just asking ourselves, like, what is the position that we want to take? Like, what is the thing that we want to ask? And it's like, also, if you ask, like, why is it important to ask, to even tangle this topic of reality? I mean, I think that especially today is very important, because I don't know, like, we live in this, you know, time where we became aware of all negative aspects that we somehow caused, and towards nature, and somehow towards you know, many other things, globalization, this kako se kaže, potrošačko društvo,
consumerist society,
this consumerist, all of those stuff, you know. And then somehow at some point you just see some things that are happening around you. You are like, okay, I see something is just, you know, or not right, or right, or it's just like, I'm just personally me, I'm like asking myself, what's my role in all of that? Like, how can I also be part of constructing my own reality, you know? And then we are all architects, and we are all going to work, or are already working, or somewhere, or on some projects, or whatsoever. And we are going to construct all of those stuff by ourselves somehow. And then I think that this constructing of all of those realities is especially important for us. Like, do we have a power, like, to construct, to affect realities? If we do, what do we do with that? If we don't, why don't we have, you know, like, any asking in all of this construction? But it's just like, I don't know, I find it's a very important topic for today. I don't know.
I wanted to ask, I mean, I think that the term reality per se generates some confusion for me personally.
Yeah.
In the university that we study in Spain, we use subjectivities. I don't know if that exists in English, but it means that it's our subjective point of view that generates this reality, no? More than realities per se, there's a series of personal interpretations. And I was asking why we find interest in reality, because in the example of these granite pieces that were actually fake, the real interest in these pieces was the fake part, no? So why are we interested in this minimum granite cover when the real interest in this piece is a lower fake concrete? That was just my question, but I mean, we can go on this forever and
I'd
go
say
in circles.
let's
in both of things.
Sorry. I'd say, because we have a lot of people wanting to comment, so I would just say to continue it, like Doreen, she wanted to comment. Maybe this is how we get to the answer, because there is a lot of people waiting. So let's start it up.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. I think because sort of why reality and why sort of this believing or giving a value towards reality. I think there is this intrinsic part of us humans thinking that reality is good and everything should be real in a way, because like the opposite would be fake, and fake is lies, and we feel distrusting of this. We feel yeah, we don't feel secure if we don't know what's real. But then again, if you really start talking about the real, it's often not pretty, and it might actually be more disturbing. So I think sort of why reality in a way is in that way important to think about is sort of maybe we shouldn't always be in a way comfortable about our situation. I don't know, my mind just wanders off a bit, but next.
Okay, Asya?
Hey, so this whole conversation kind of reminded me of a discussion we had in a class I took last year, conservation theory. And we talked about what is authentic and what is not. So that kind of, I kind of agree with Marina in what she said. She said some of the lines of whether reality is good or bad depends on the situation. So for example, if we think of an old building that is about to collapse, in my mind, if it collapsed, that would be a bad thing. So conservation in this scenario is a good thing. So, however, when you're it's not gonna be, see if you're replacing the original stone, is that fake, or is it, you know, there's a theory that says you should label each new stone you put. So for example, if you're conserving this building in 2021, you just stamp each stone that you put in newly with 2021. So it's not fake. People know that this is based on the original, but it's not real. It was added on afterwards, so that doesn't kind of take away from the authenticity of building. It's not lies, like Doreen was saying. I don't know. Anybody who studied conservation have anything to add to that? I don't know.
So if we go next, Alexander.
Yeah, but also, Luca, maybe if,
yeah.
if
someone want to like directly reply to this.
And just directly reply.
Chachi had just had an exam on conservation. Anyone? Like a direct reply? If not, Alexander can go.
Direct reply as well. I also attended some courses about conservation, and when I learned that thing that every monument should have, like, I don't think here in Bulgaria they put like literal numbers on it, like the year that it was added, but they are layered. There's like line that separates the different layers of different reconstructions and so on. But most of the times they don't do this, and they lie because it looks better and it will attract more tourists, and nobody says like this is not how it actually was. A lot of people think like this is the exact, like even if they know it's a replica, they say like this is the exact, they believe this is the exact way something appeared. And we all know that a lot of history and all of these reconstructions are based on theories and just assumptions, which is also like my point about reality was about whether it's good or bad. And I think that as well, the separation between good and is very subjective, and like reality is, each of our realities is how we perceive the world. And like my reality and a turtle's reality is totally different. And and I don't think we can ever really find, because okay, my reality and a turtle's reality is like very, very different, but my reality and one of their realities could be close to mine, but still is very, very different. And I think that when people start to experience some kind of other reality or hear about another person's reality or another being's reality, they tend to get scared of it. They tend to label it as bad because it's different, because it's not what they're used to. And like, But at the same time, if you try to accept that, I also read *Sapiens*, an amazing book. Like, I totally recommend it to have anyone here. The thing that about discovering America, the guy said that Amerigo Vespucci, who was the first, he wasn't the first guy to step on America, even though it was named after him. He was the first guy to admit that we are wrong, that we don't know the whole reality, that we don't know the whole extremes of the world, that there is still too much to learn. He was like, okay, I'm going there without knowing what I will find. I'm not even trying to guess it. Like, I'm just going to go there and see what it is. And yes, a lot of people, I think, are scared to do this. And generally, as humanity, I think we're scared to let all the differences aside and just try to accept a different point of view. And I think if we're able to do that, we will get closer to what is real, because real is like like everything together, all the realities at the same time. Like, if you, I personally either believe in all the religions or in none of them. Like, that is, I believe you should not choose just one, because that's, I don't know, that's not real.
It's not enough.
Something, in your opinion, why is it important to get to this real thing, like to understand and get closer to the real? Just like that question. I don't even guess the answer.
I don't think we have to get to it. I think a lot of people want to get to it, but they're doing it like the way in their own reality. And
yeah.
Okay, Boban?
Okay. Well, I just wanted to state that, like, especially after Elena's presentation, it's like this, differentiation between real and reality can be looked from, different perspectives, from different professions. But like, from architectural standpoint, I think it's kind of, quite difficult to find, examples where reality is covering, beautiful reality is covering the ugly real, if you know what I mean. Like, if you, and I think that we're, from architectural standpoint, again, we're trying to get to the real, because, for example, like, this presentation started with Potemkin villages, like, because it's a lie. We've been told that the constructed reality is a lie. And even though we're better off living a lie, it's still like a part of human nature to actually dig deeper and find the real, to sleep better at night. Even though it may not change your position, it may not change your approach to life, it may not better your life or improve it by any means, but it just, this like human nature to search for, ultimate truth. And I think that there's this like a binarity of a lot of things that Eleni mentioned, gender and sex, and it's like talking about women from biological and social standpoint, there are a lot of differences, and it's like, I think that we're comfortable within these borders of binarity, of where something is a lie, and there's this one lie and there's this one truth. And even though if there are multiple lies, they can be grouped in one category as a lie, but there's this only one absolute truth. So by that means, I think that the real should not be discussed whether it's good or bad, it's just the truth. And yeah, I just wanted to summarize why, like, from an architectural standpoint, it's difficult to actually find the examples where we treat the real as something that is actually good, bad, where the reality is actually good, because like we got used to being lied all the time.
Doreen had a direct comment, and then Marina, I guess, a direct comment. Just please short so we can
Yeah. Basically, Aisha literally said what I wanted to say, because I think we sort of, I feel like if we are directly asked, like, do you want reality or do you want the real thing? You always say yes, but then when the real thing actually comes in your face and tells you on like an advertisement for a good cause, like, hey, people are dying, you should help us, then we're like, oh no, wait, I'm living in my own personal world. So
yeah.
But Marina.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's you know, I think that first we somehow I have to say again, it's like the terms real and reality. We didn't. It's, you know, it's not like not set for. It's those are not fixed terms. Those are not like it's black and white. It's
not
just,
set in stone.
Yeah, it's like reality. Like there are millions of them. It's matter of aspect, conception, whatsoever. And in also that way, I don't also think that we can talk about reality. We can definitely. That's definitely part of it. But it's not also if something is real or fake, because the fake things are also very real. You know, so I don't know, it's like I would try if we wouldn't like dwell in this what is real and what is reality that much, because you know, this is also some sort of let's say we had some so we took some texts, we read some stuff from Jean Baudrillard, and that is actually taken out of this whole context of his, and he somehow tried to make this whole definition. But basically, he was just trying to say that the real is something that is ultimate, that doesn't exist, and it's you know, when he says it can be spotted only in these consistencies of apparent realities, you know, it's just it's not something that is good, or it is not something that we should aim for. It is something that doesn't exist. You know, and what exists actually are all of those individual many layered realities that might be our task to ask ourselves, like, what's our standpoint if we interact with any of them, you know. So in that also context, I wanted to say, like, this thing about something being fake, that's in my opinion just like one of the approaches towards reality. That's this part in presentation when I said sort of you know, like how do you interact with reality, like do you fake it? You know, you take reality and you make this whole a new reality by yourself, and you're saying, aha, this is now the real. And it's actually some sort of manipulation, some sort of you know, sometimes it can be positive manipulation, sometimes it can be negative manipulation, but you know, it's like you're taking the point, you're like, okay, I want to interact with it, I want to do something about it, I want to be part of it, I just want to ignore it, I want to create my own little reality and just live in that little bubble forever, you know. And it's just like that's the whole question for our profession, in my opinion, like what standpoint do we take, and how do we do things, you know. Because if I think if we now start to think like, oh, is this real, is this fake, is this everything is real, everything, you know, exists, what we see, what we know, what we feel, what we want to exist, yeah, basically. Also, there is this whole area of like, it's not area, it's you know, like hyper reality, also like digital reality, like there is this whole shift of values through time, you know. Like before you were like exchanging flour, it's like I give you flour, you give me oil, and you know, we exchange goods. Then this whole value changed into, okay, there is some diamond, there is some gold, now this gold is much more valuable than flour, you know, those are some material stuff. And then everything shifted to this, you know, little paper like money, and you're like, aha, now this is the value, you know. And you're like, hey, paying, and then our whole lives are now digital. you know, it's like telephone is like, you know, it's virtual reality. It's like illusion. It's like, but it's still real. It's not fake. Potemkin villages are also, you know, they're there, even if they are, but you know, that's the thing, like, what fake is good fake, what fake is bad fake, you know, like what should we do in the end? Like, that's why I think that tomorrow it would be great if we would somehow, you know, I don't like to say to spot problematics, but something more like what are the areas and somehow the what is our radius of things where we interact and can affect, actually, you know, like what's our responsibility in a way, like maybe not even, you know, like you know, it's not like that we can change the world, but we can talk about some very real things that we can be like, hey, you know, it's like
Okay.
that
was
sorry,
super short. Okay. Gustavs? No. It was. I think it was a good moment for that. Gustavs?
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about every single design choice taking part in the creation of reality, because there isn't any concrete reality out there. I mean, every single creative work and every single man-made thing is kind of participating in the creation of this common reality, you know. And every building is an image that proposes some kind of worldview and some kind of narrative that it's part of. And like, for example, if we look at some buildings that we think of as real, like if we are like in Paris and look at the Pantheon, you know, oh, that's a pretty real building. But it's like neoclassicist, you know, and it's got like these columns and it's making this impression of classical Greco-Roman architecture, you know, and in that sense, there isn't that much anything real about it. You know, it's creating some kind of narrative of authority, of grandeur, and of bigness, and of imperialism, and that kind of stuff. And like, even if we look at like, of course, nowadays, you know, parametricist architecture, which is suggesting images of organicism where there is none, and of like natural formations where there are none, you know, with these curvy shapes and that. It's also participating in creation of reality by suggesting different narratives that the building is part of, but there isn't like anything real about it. It's just creating an image. And even if, you know, like a corporation has like super environmentally friendly headquarters made of timber and like really eco-friendly and all that, you know, that's not necessarily authentic. It's a performance. It's an image that the corporation or firm is putting forward as its face, you know, and in that sense, there isn't anything real about it either. And like, even if you go back to Greek architecture, like what is more real than Greek architecture? But then in the end, you know, like these rock columns, and that they are just impressions of early timber architecture that first came, you know, like first all the temples were made of timber, and then they just kind of started building these columns in rock and marble and so on. And I mean, so yeah, I just wanna remind ourselves that, you know, the really important thing is that as designers, we are all participating in the creation of reality, and there isn't anything real out there. You know, there are facts, but then the facts need to be interpreted, and interpretation is a matter of taste, and it's a matter of ethics and morals, and it's and that becomes personal. And what else did I want to say? I mean, yeah, even if you look at Palladio, he just does a decorated shed, you know, he takes a box and then he puts some columns in the front. I mean, what's real about that? There isn't much real about that. It's, I mean, we take it as real because this narrative of Palladianism, of Palladio's architecture is so enforced and we are also familiar with this story of Palladio and like this Renaissance architecture, that we take it as real, but really it's just, you know, how they wrote in like learning from Las Vegas, you know, and it's a decorated box, and yeah, so I guess that's it.
Nice, very nice. Anna?
Ooh.
Long ago.
Okay, so
Finally.
I wanted to say, I mean, I wanted to comment on a question, why is reality important per se? And also, I have a comment on what Gustav just said about like knowing the fact and then interpreting the facts and creating your reality. And I've came to a thought that like subjective reality comes after knowing the real. I mean, after knowing the fact, because I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just thinking about it. But like, if you know the fact, then you can interpret it with your morals, emotions, and I mean, like one of the biggest emotion that happened to us when we created this project is people don't like to be lied to. It's not the lie itself, but the feeling of not wanting to be lied to. So I think when you know the fact, then you can you have the option to create your own reality. If I don't know there are concrete boxes underneath, I don't even have a chance of creating a reality that is maybe somewhat like fact, how do you say, grounded. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I mean, those are some thoughts that I had on this topic while all of you were speaking.
So Gustav's had a really small comment on this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like in your video, you showed this place with the fake buildings and the water motorcycle, or what's it called, you know, and proposing it as unreal. But in a sense, it's really authentic because it's not pretending to be anything. I mean, it's so obvious, and there isn't, like, it's so obvious that you can't, like, it's almost not lying in a way. I mean, it's like, in a way, it's more real than really, really nice corporate headquarters that are just trying to participate in a kind of public relations move, you know, with their really nice headquarters. And while these really nice headquarters, or, you know, or this really nice bank and this really nice building is just trying to hide some ugly stuff, you know. And in the sense, you know, like these really, really folksy places like that, I mean, they are so unreal that they are kind of like really real.
Yeah.
There's the thing.
But then again,
very real. This is very, very real. It's I don't know how you came across that we stated that it's not real. I'm trying to understand that part.
Oh yeah, I don't know. It seems it sometimes seems to go this path of I don't know, like maybe it's in my mind, but like bad unreality, bad fakeness, and then like what is good.
No, it's like this whole thing about reality culture is it's a much bigger story actually. Then it's not really only about decorative shed. It's about how a big space in media this whole project, let's call it a project, took place. And that's actually problematic. It's not that it's not real, it's the problem that it's so real. That's you know, like the problem that we are dealing with in Serbia, that you know, like one layer of it is this architectural aspect of like how did they build that in this sort of like creating this decorative shed, and then just making first floor, like ground floor is only functionable basically, you know, but everything else is just for people to perceive it, you know, to see it. So it's just like from this aspect, it's very interesting, it's very real, and you know, it's like
Sorry, Marina, I have to, you're kind of breaking the rules. I'm sorry. I have to cut in because it was starting to get long, but I understand why the comment needed to be said. So Louis, finally.
Hello.
Hello. Can you
Oh,
see me?
he's still here. Good.
Sleep for a sec. No, it's brilliant. I'm loving this discourse.
Yep.
Yeah, I've just jotted down a few notes, some of my thoughts. The first thing that comes to mind is that Coca-Cola uses the phrase in its advertising, like only the real thing, you know, and like the real thing is like associated with consumer quality, because the word real ties, maybe the word real ties our discourse to architecture as a commodity. So it makes us start to think about architecture as a commodity, kind of like Coca-Cola. Like we all know, the more real it is, the higher quality you can sell it for, the more desirable it is, the more consumable it is. So maybe it's more important that we reframe or rethink our search for in terms of objectivity, because this actually does have moral consequences. As if architecture is a social science. So the pursuit of objectivity is kind of the pursuit of science, and the belief that by understanding things that are objectively true, we'll somehow be able to progress human civilization in some way, shape or form, like by understanding these fundamental truths. So our laptops, our PCs, and you know, a lot of the great things around us have come from a search or a desire to find some objectivity within things. But I think that postmodernism and postmodern trends and consumer trends have maybe dismantled these ideas of truth in architecture, and the profession has been really uncool to kind of search for objectivity or think about objectivity for, like, you know, the last like 30 years at least, if not a lot longer. So we've created a world where architectural knowledge in our society has like really very little influence, and kind of culminates in a society where the connection between cause and effect is undermined. So we can't say, well, like this is going to affect this, because we don't have an objective way of saying that. We can't just say this is definitely going to happen, because in a way we've shot ourselves in in our own foot by reducing our knowledge base in that way. But yeah, I think that a lot of people have suffered as a result of us as a profession being unable to give our architectural knowledge or our architectural insights any level of objectivity. So the further the discourse goes into, is it real, is it not real, is that what's actually becomes apparent is that there's more of a moralistic argument in favor of pursuing objectivity. So yeah, we don't have a position to influence like a lot of sectors such as economics, which are now you know, way more powerful than the architectural profession, because they've managed to consolidate ideas of objectivity into their field. And it's not money that controls the labor, it's the objectivity that's been culminated into that subject, you know?
Can you repeat that last sentence? Objectivity, that what?
It's not money that controls the laborer, it's the objectivity that's been culminated, or ideas of confidence and objectivity that have culminated to form money, you know? And like ideas of, so metrics of objectivity and veracity, and ideas around kind of truth and how we create and maintain truth are the things that allow power and influence in society. And without architectural knowledge being formalized as an objective field, we perhaps lose a potential to, you know, influence the world in a positive way. You know, using our knowledge and our skills that we do have. So yeah, I think that like we also don't have the political domain to argue many of our arguments, you know, like in architecture, because people can go, why would that be good? And you go, well, like it will definitely kind of improve the quality of life of people in this area. And they're like, well, I don't see like the kind of, you know, so I think that because of this, like last 100 years of us avoiding truth or avoiding objectivity, we've started to face our own destruction. And real estate developers can reduce architectural knowledge to nothing. They could say it's bullshit, you know, and we can't really indicate or have an extended understanding of our impact or influence in architecture, you know. So one thing might improve 100 people's mental health for the next 50 years. We have no way of like proving that, you know, in many situations, you know, because we don't have an idea of objectivity or reality to bring it back if it's not taken in a consumerist way. So yeah, I think that those are some points, those are some thoughts.
A
Hey.
question.
Question.
So what do we do about it?
I think there's like, don't think about that for a second.
While Louis thinks,
I know a few things to do, but what do I say?
It's a trick question. It's not supposed to.
What do we do? I think one of them is like understanding or culminating our research better, our research methodologies, and actually having cross-examination methods to make sure that if we have findings here, then they can be tested over there, and we can kind of like see things as truth. Like the problem is with scientific experiments, what you can do is go, oh, I'm going to test something really small in this area, and then I'm going to test it really small in that area. With architecture, we're at such a larger or different scale. It's sometimes really hard to like provably note that something's changing people's lives. We have one-off examples, or we have kind of like things. So it's actually a matter of kind of culminating the data and information to create, I guess, objective understand, if not fully objective, like 98% objective, that this will be better if people include this within their development, for example. You know, there's an element of that which needs to be built within the architectural field, because I think we're missing it or we're lacking it. Christopher, yeah, like I think a few people have tried to build knowledge bases like that, but I don't think we have an extensive enough one. Yeah.
Boban?
I kind of forgot like most of the things that I wanted to say, but I should have taken notes. But I just wanted to like comment on what Anna said previously about that actually the essence of choosing between real and reality is not because like we're aiming to find a lie, but we're aiming to find a reason, like for we tend to question why are we being lied. So there's actually this whole reasoning part behind the lie, which makes the lie not you know, not important. And so like in regards to the example that we always give, like the concrete block, it's like, I know that like Serbia doesn't have money. I don't give a shit if like we have concrete blocks underneath like the granite layers, like whatever the fuck. I mean, it's just that we are being treated like fools, and that's like the main issue, like in concern to this sense of correlation of real and reality. It's just that we are not, we do not to be like treated as, we do not like to be treated as dolls, and like we always tend to find, you know, we have this also, but this is a different topic, the urge to punish the one who is asking, like who is lying to us. In that sense, like that explains our relationship with our president, but also another story. And there's this also, I don't know, I forgot who mentioned it, but well, you about the like the HQ of some bill of some company or so, like if it's like 100% environmental, we tend to question the reason behind the goodness of that building. For example, like if it goes according to those like ecological standards, like 100%, and so like we say, as we did today in this discussion, that like this is only like for propaganda. Like you had this like, you know, good example of ecologically friendly building, but at the same sense, like nobody trusts it. Like nobody trusts that the reason behind the this ecological awareness of that building is truthful. So this is like, this opens a whole different topic, I think, which can be discussed during this like bar time, which has already started. But like what is actually like, I still in architecture, I believe that there are certain aesthetical aspects of the building which make us decide whether we should believe it or not, the truth of that building. So I think that in that sense, it doesn't matter if like it's in relation to ecology or, you know, different sort of value, but it always has to have some, you know, visual element or, you know, a story behind the building itself that will make us trust it, that will make us believe that it's like, it's real, it's the truth. Okay, I'm not being lied. I do not have anybody to be angry at. I do not have anybody to blame. It's okay. The end.
Elena?
Yeah, I'm just like trying to digest the last sentence of Bob, and still interesting. But yeah, I guess I don't know if to whom like answer or whatever. I think it's basically it's not even a question of good or bad. It's just like observing the phenomena around us, and it's this constant urge of us to do it, and it's like natural, and like this is why we are here. Like we will try to I don't know, intersect our realities, intersect our point of views, to understand the mechanisms behind all of this, to understand the phenomena that we see, like why it appeared in the first place, and basically I guess to like intersect this cross-examination that Louis said also, like to try to become even more transdiscipline as we want, or try to reach other files of yeah, like files of interest and stuff, and I guess like I don't know, it's just like it is a part of how are we treated. But for example, here in Belgrade we have, you know, this meter of the yeah, like a scale of how the air pollution, like how polluted is the air, and if it's like acceptable, or if it's unhealthy, or if it's clean air and stuff. And what the government of Serbia did is actually moving the scale to a factor that it's more acceptable, let's say, for like there are no other how to say, there are not other oh fuck, okay, does this make the air the quality of air better? No, it's just like our perception of the air. It's different. Like we say, okay, I have my mobile application which says that the air now is cleaner, even though the same air was before. But the meters and the scales and the standards are changing all the time, and so it's. I guess this is for quality as well, but it's also like for the standards of. Ourselves. For example, we have the index of build up area, for example, is changing completely in whole Serbia, and it's increasing in areas, for example, which are pure forests and everything. And it's all like a network. And I guess this is also a problem from a lot of other countries. But so okay, this is also economic stuff and everything, but it affects part of our lives every time if we don't question these things, and if we don't try to understand them deeply, and maybe not become part of the problem, but at least try to communicate these realities and how we see it with each other, and like, and also like, okay, it's not good, it's not bad, but for example, what can we learn from this? What can we learn from the printed facades? What can we learn from the? Can it be like an architecture that it's camouflaged, an architecture that it's part of the whole, part of a bigger whole, part of an ecosystem, like not just the building, but like it's interconnected, and I guess this is like a metaphor of these printed facades, which are just like paper and steel or scaffolding, but it shows something. Maybe the ephemerality, maybe like the paper and the PFC can do the same that will do concrete, but maybe not. I don't know. But it's like try to make sense of these mechanisms and try to use them to start a revolution, like against from within, like to try to so much of these words. Sorry. But yeah, like to try to what we can learn from it. That's it. Sorry.
No, it's just the against from within and like the timing of it. Amazing.
Favorite words of 2020.
I remember this post. Just remembered the post from I think it was Dan Cloyd, right? About the from against from within. Sorry. Anyone else? Anyone has a comment or a question? Are you more confused than ever? Or is it like shaping up of like
comment?
Yeah.
If it's okay, I just wanted to comment on Louis said previously, he was mainly talking about architecture in general, but I was thinking that the architectural education kind of also creates this fake reality in a way, because a lot of our architectural projects pretend to be for the good of the people and whatever, but then they're fake. Like one of the projects I was doing were like working with the old ruins in the city of Southampton, and then we were coming to our tutor saying like, dude, we can't do this stuff because the ruins are under protection. He's like, yeah, whatever. So he's like, yeah, just do it. Like, it looks nice, you say good things, your concept is nice, so just do it and don't care about like those real things at the moment of your education. So I think it just was a comment that I came up with, that the architecture education itself sometimes says, don't think about real stuff at this point, but then like when to think about it. Like when you come to work, you are already taught not to think about the reality in a way, like the real stuff, and then you kind of create your own reality in your project. Yeah, that was just a quick comment, I guess.
True.
Good one. I think it's on point.
Maybe we can like also it's bar time or not?